Welcome, people, to episode 3, and today we are talking about the martial underworld. It's kind of like thinking about like the Wild Wild West. You know, you have different type of people living different types of lives. And before I can really introduce what the underworld is, I'm going to have to go into what is the overworld, or the world that we understand as we see martial arts and kung fu from different aspects. First, you need to understand that in China, martial arts has never been welcome. It's never been something that they wanted around. A lot of people practiced it. It was always for warfare. But the Chinese government itself always had an issue with whether it was the Shaolin or a private group. There were so many different occasions where these people who had trained and practiced, because they practiced something called the Wu De, and Wu De basically signified justice. So they were practicing martial arts with the aspect of justice in mind, and when something corrupt was going on, then there was always going to be a confrontation. There was always 2 levels. So you had the level of people who were practicing and basically trying to stay out of trouble and pass the arts on, and then you had the other world, which was entertainment, show business, which started as early as the Beijing Opera, which is where, Jackie Chan was, that's where he was trained and where he started from. And so you have these 2 worlds. One of them is trying to stay low key, to remain, to keep its secrecy, so to speak, while the other one was basically always trying to gain more attention. And so it started as, theater, and these kids, they went through strenuous, hardcore, training. Right? Shit. And it appears as martial arts because it's such a high level difficulty. But high level difficulty does not necessarily transfer over, or doesn't automatically transfer over to efficiency in combat. So you had the guys who were efficient in combat, which was basically like, related to military groups, small private families that had survived through time. And you also had the guys that were doing entertainment. So they want to put on a show for you. They want you to feel good about it. And the Beijing Opera, eventually kind of translated into film. And so we have all these films and stories of these people that are explaining these happenings in the underworld, but they're really just the explainers. They're explaining what's happening, but they themselves were not actually doing it.
Oh, great! Real bullets!
They don't spend their time trying to make sure that if they get into a fist fight, that they're gonna know how to protect themselves. So these 2 worlds basically split. The one that became popular, obviously, was the movie industry, right? And only around the time of when Bruce Lee came out, that's when common people wanted to know what martial arts was. That's when they came into it. They're like, ooh, this is our stuff. This is our culture. And that became something that they became proud of, and everybody really became more into it. So they started teaching it at schools, and they started teaching it at a lot of different places, lots of these performances, wushu and everything else. But the government, keep that in mind, wanted to keep everything nerfed. They wanted to keep it so it's beautiful, it is powerful, right? But people don't really know how to use it.
I say you're a civilization because as soon as we started thinking for you, it really became our civilization, which is, of course, what this is all about.
Okay, so that's the overworld. The underworld, basically when it came to the Great Cultural Revolution, that is a time where they were trying to basically take power away from anybody. Like if you had too much power, whether it was financial or martial arts or you were famous, right? A lot of those people just they just dealt with them. What they had to do to survive is they had to flee to different places. Some of them to Hong Kong, some of them to Taiwan, and some kind of isolated places in China, right? And so they remained, and they still kind of keep a small connection, right? But they don't really seek fame, so to speak, And so you can actually really distinguish the martial artists that are seeking the fame and the riches. You know that they have a different type of goal because these other guys have a completely different purpose of what they think martial arts is and what it's for. The first time I came in contact with the martial underworld was when I had a competition. So I had my first, big competition here. It was a master's competition. And, it was about 15 years ago. I had that competition and I got third place. And because I got third place, then they said I was on the Taiwan, martial arts team. And I had to go to another competition to represent Taiwan. And when I went to that competition, that was really when I started to see things different, because myself personally, I always had assumed Shaolin were pretty fake. And, I experienced some of them. I see them doing a lot of different cool tricks, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. But, a lot of them had no idea, like when it came down to combat, if you had a conversation with them, they didn't really understand how things work. And, but this place was completely different. This competition, first we had to get on a plane and we flew to a place and got on a boat. And when we got on the boat, we went into this place like in the middle of the woods. In the middle of the woods, there was this police station. A police station that was obviously all well-trained martial arts. I mean, like high level, combat related, all of them. And, there's hundreds of people there. We had the competition, it was great, I represented. And then after that, we went to go see, like my master was saying, we're gonna go see a demonstration, a Kung Fu demonstration. And I'd seen so many different demonstrations, so I wasn't really excited to see the Shaolin. I was like, all right, whatever, we'll kill some time, maybe meet some more people, right? And when we go into this place, you have to understand, as a black person out here in Asia, if I run into a group of kids, in an isolated region, they're all gonna go crazy. They're all gonna just be like, oh my gosh, a black man, black man, black man. They just go crazy, right? They can't help it. And I understand because, I'll probably be the first and maybe even the last black person they ever see in real life, right? But we went to this place that was super isolated, and we walked past this group of kids, these monks, that are just standing like completely still, like soldiers, like not even moving, right? And I walked past them and they don't even turn their heads to look at me. No smiles, no nothing. And I'm thinking, this is really odd. And then I look over and their master comes around the corner. Man, he had the meanest look I ever seen on a man. I mean, he looked so mean that he made me stand still. Like I don't want to move. I don't want to turn my head either. When we started the demonstration, this master, like they look like, it's funny because a lot of times when you see monks to do like a show or demonstration, they're all happy and smiles to come see you, This guy looked irritated that we were there. Like we were disturbing his day, that we weren't supposed to be there, And he was like, demonstration? I was like, okay. And then he just goes onto one finger, right? Goes up into a handstand slowly, and then comes back down, right? And he's like, your turn. Now, I was like, my turn?
Come here. Have you gone berserk? Can't you see that man is a nit?
You're joking, And anyway, they did their demonstration. I did my demonstration. We take some pictures. And after taking some pictures, like there was this one kid, and he's a kid. He's like 20, and he's like, they want me to take a picture with him, because I'm the foreigner kind of representative. And so we're trying to take this picture together. And they keep telling him, and at first we almost got in a fight, accidentally. Because you gotta really be careful when you're talking to people from the underworld, man. You gotta really watch your mouth.
Fight's not with you, Holiday.
I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we never got to finish. Play for blood, remember?
Because they can take it as a challenge, just, so I was like, for these pictures, I was like, yeah, it's cool, man. You throw some punches at me, I'll just block them off, and they'll get some good pictures, And he was just like, you think you can block my punches? And I was like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, I was like, I'll calm down a little, man.
I must break you.
And then, anyway, he was a really nice guy, even though he was just, they're just like that. They're just like, they're ready to jump off of the hat, right? And so we started to take the picture, and then everybody in the, some of the people there were like, "Hey, do the jump, tell him to do the jump, tell him to do the jump." They kept telling me to do the jump. So what is this jump? Just do the jump, And this guy finally, like irritated, he jumps, man, and the force was like his ass was, like 3 feet above my head. He's in a perfect split, right? And it wasn't that he jumped so high, it was the force that I felt from that. I played basketball with ballers, I never seen the force of a jump. That it felt like an attack, even though he was just jumping, right? And that's where I really started to see, I was like, okay, that was my intro, and I realized that there was a lot more going on in this Kung Fu than people actually have any idea about. Came back to Taiwan, and I started talking to other different kinds of masters as I continued to progress, and I started translating a lot of their different documents. Now, please understand, this is the first intro to the Underworld, so I can't take you all the way in this episode, right? I'm gonna just pull you in really, really slow, but they would drop little gems on me all the time to kind of let me know competition, like why they don't do competition, right? And they would say some things in general, like it's a distraction. They say like, this is like a lifetime, right, movement, and it, how good I am is really none of your damn business. The other thing was one master mentioned to me when we were having tea that made a lot of sense. He said was, if we go and try to prove something to the world, like if we went to UFC, basically what we're saying is that they are the authority on martial arts. We're in agreement, and we signed their contracts to fight their way, to agree that we are part now of their corporation, right? Because once you sign something, you're in their corporation, right? And he's like, and no, we don't really acknowledge them as any kind of martial authority, because, he's like, a real fight is always gonna have a weapon, whether you want it to or not. There's gonna be weapons around. There's gonna be more than one person around. The survival skills, even eating right, your temperament, all these different parts of your character that were more important than just the actual combat skills. Another master said at one time, it's just really not, that's not what everybody wants. Like, everybody thinks like, okay, now I know martial arts. The Western world, I know martial arts, so I can fight and get famous and, make movies and make a lot of money. These cats are living well without having any money. They don't like attention. They don't want attention. They just want to find a way to keep passing on their methods, right? Without the rest of the world really putting their fingers on it. Because they understand that how commercialism basically destroys everything. You see what it did to Taekwondo, right? Taekwondo used to be a lethal style for the military, and then it just became, now what is it, right? Everything, once it becomes commercial, once it goes into the money, right, it changes. So that this Underworld is not just a martial arts thing. You see it in hip hop. Think about how hip hop used to be, and think about how hip hop is now. And you still have the martial art, the hip hop underground, where they're still doing real stuff, but it's really just not for the public anymore. It's for people who are looking for it. So if you're looking for it, they're not really hiding it, so to speak. You have to know where to look, and it is about connections, right? But if you're looking for it, you're gonna get it. I think for the most part now, it's just you have to understand that not everything is for everyone.
No, I want one of those.
Wonka, how much do you want for the golden goose?
They're not for sale.
Name your price.
She can't have one.
And it's okay if people, they ridicule you. If you have something special, don't throw your pearls before swine, man. Because the world they're always looking for their next fix of entertainment for themselves. It's for themselves, it's not for you, right? So whatever you do for them, no matter how good you are, you're Bruce Lee, now they're making fun of Bruce Lee saying that he wasn't a real fighter, right? You're Michael Jackson, you slept with babies and all this other kind of stuff. So no matter how high you get, if you're doing it for people, ultimately in the end, they're gonna find a way to throw you away. What a lot of people don't understand is that the UFC, or MMA, so to speak, is not just a fighting style, it's a company. And any company is gonna have, they're gonna say we have the best product. And whatever products that they don't have, they're gonna have to say those products are no good. Of course, that's just business. You're a bad businessman if you don't do that. But it doesn't mean that it's true. There are different phones besides the iPhone. There are different ways of life to live. And like I said, if you find something that really, makes you feel good, it makes you feel your own power and your own worth, if you find that, you need to be really careful who you share it with. Because a lot of times even when you're trying to share some form of good news, people will just turn it against you, and make you feel, doubtful or unhappy about what you already have. And that's just a form of jealousy. So don't be manipulated. That's like, Kung Fu 101. Don't let people manipulate you with their own thoughts and their own dreams. Follow your dream and people can follow you. That's cool. And you can share it if they deserve it, right? But don't feel obligated at any point in your life to have to prove something to anybody. I love you guys. God bless, man. Thanks for taking your time with me, and I'll see you next week. If you haven't already, you can go to Amazon, purchase my book and follow my life story, or read the exciting novel based on all the styles in my lineage. Also, there's my online training program. Anyone can join anytime. It will eventually involve all the techniques of my style.